I hope you've had a chance to listen to part one of this interview on Biz Bites. Stay tuned now for part two. Welcome to Biz Bites, brought to you by Together, helping businesses like yours build their brand through telling amazing stories to engage and grow audiences on multiple platforms. I think it's so true. And we've been sold to use a phrase, I think this very generic sales type approach. And it hasn't ever really worked in Australia, I don't think. And in fact, I've seen it be a miserable failure in many cases because we don't like being sold to as a general rule. And part of that as well is because we've become more and more accustomed to something being more personal. And what I mean by that is I'm always a believer that the media is often a step ahead of where we are. And if you take a look at, for example, subscription TV, it used to be, those of us will remember the days of there were, 3 commercial stations and two other stations that you could watch. Some even remember when there was only one of those. And and so showing my age a little. And so you would, that was your sum total of choice. Then subscription TV came in and it was still fairly high level and generic. But now it's got to the point where you don't just choose the lifestyle channel, you can choose the food channel or the renovation type channel, the home improvement or whatever it's called. It's getting more and more specific. And we're used to advertising through the likes of Google and all and Amazon and everyone else listening in to what we're doing to direct things more specifically at us. So when we have a business that is coming out and speaking generically, we're, in a sales environment, even if they are speaking directly to us, but it's a very generic sales pitch, then you're operating from a long way behind because it immediately stands out like a sore thumb in a country, and I'm talking about Australia here, and I know we've got listeners everywhere, but in Australia, certainly we've always reacted, I think, fairly negatively to the idea of being sold to. Culturally, we've been quite different to the US, who were, I think, a little bit more accustomed to that idea than Australians ever were. And so this really fights with it big time. So having that understanding and being able to adapt to the people in front of you, it's just a huge game changer.
It is. Just being able to talk their language, and often there's visual clues and the personalities, different person, profiling tools do that. But again, when I'm working with businesses, so often they don't break their database down. I say there's 3 types of customers, and I'm meaning customers. You have the one who's buying from you now. And then you've got one I call the past customer, which sounds pretty obvious. But for many businesses, they can't define when a customer becomes a past customer. Say I was paying you for your marketing services. When I paid you for your marketing services, you did the things and then we stopped. Therefore, at that point, until I bought something else, I'm no longer a customer. But if I'm paying monthly, like a subscription, then I'm a customer until I stop paying, the subscription comes to an end. And then you've got to convince me to come back. But with past customers, once I've stopped, if you look at a real estate agent, once they've bought the house and it's settled, they're not a customer anymore. They're now a past customer who you've got to get them excited about using you to buy investment properties, to buy another second property, property for the kids, maybe, whatever. And they know that they're going to buy, on average, another 2.5 to 4 years, they will buy a second property. Many of them will buy a second property if they're in a certain demographic. But you've got to, if you're going out to your database and saying, hey, we've got this house, why would they buy the house? They've just bought a house. They're not really in the market. Think about it.
It's absolutely so true with that kind of stuff. And I think it's even I think the mistake is made in subscriptions, because if we put aside the subscription TV service where, look, most of us, if we've bought a subscription to a TV service, we're using it on a daily or weekly basis at least. But how many of us in business, for example, have subscriptions, and even personally have subscriptions to things that we thought were a good idea at the time, and they renew monthly, annually, whenever they do, and they've been set and forget. And I would argue that in many of those, we're already a past customer. We're not current because they're not. And this is, I think, the mistake that a lot of businesses make is that they're not looking at those subscriptions and working out who's actually engaging and who's not. All they're doing is sending out the generic newsletter type or email blast to those people all the time without actually engaging them and saying, hey, we've noticed that you're not, not making use of the stuff at the moment. Can we help you in some different way? Trying to make them active because they're just counting the dollars and going, oh, well, person X has bought a subscription. They've had a subscription for a while. They're probably going to keep it for a while. We'll just move on to the next person. Yet if that person realized more value out of it, they not only potentially buy more from you, but they're going to talk about it to more people for you, and building that is it's loyalty is built on that, not on offering, hey, get a free this and that. I find that tiresome. But I think this fundamental understanding of people and engaging with them is so huge.
Oh, Anthony, it's massive. And even if you take that subscription model, why are they taking the subscription? What's important to them? For some people, it's getting the latest movies, and they've got all the latest movies and the biggest range selection, and that's the greatest thing since sliced bread. They're action orientated. But what about the people who are nurturing and they're trying to get something for the family? So make sure that the kids have something that's appropriate for them, but it might be expanding their mind and personal growth and things like that, or they can offer them watch parties so they can link with their friends. What's important to them, and study that. But so often we just let them go. And one of those, the third group of customers I call are lapsed or inactive customers. They're your at-risk customers because they are not, they've missed their bicycle. They've missed a payment on their May, June subscription, for example, over 12-month subscription maybe. Why have they done that? And most people just say, oh, that's it. Or they send them a generic letter. They don't do it. I work with a company and we found that 75% of people had no idea that there was an actual problem with the payment of their thing until it popped up. And then they did it, we double dipped the 2 month, next month, took 2 subscriptions, and then they arced up because all of a sudden they didn't have the money, or they were short of money in their bank account. We introduced a service and we reduced those customers by 67% because we told them they had a problem. We changed how we told them there's a problem, and it made a huge difference. Imagine that type of money. We were talking millions of dollars in the year that was affected by that. And you can do that in the customer, but it's going back and understanding them. We talk about offering them, why did the person buy the drill from Bunnings? Yeah, we go back to that old saying. He wanted a hole. They wanted a hole. No, they didn't. They didn't want a hole. They wanted to put a plug through there to plug in the TV so they could have family time with the family playing games on the TV. That's the ultimate need. And that's where I come back to that discussion with us, is that we have to understand our customers and treat them as individuals, personal relationship management using the tools, and we will increase the sales. If you understand your customers, you can make your marketing more effective because they will respond as you're talking to their personality types and to what their problems are, and you can bring them back. And if you're doing that, you're reducing your costs, your marketing is more effective, your staff are going to be more effective because you're going to be able to adjust. They're going to be just working on those ones. They're not wasting time on wrong information. And they'll go back and convert their sales instead of leaving 50% of them sitting in the follow-up folder. They've only followed up 3 or 4 times. That's why you do all that.
I love all of these insights, and I know this is something we can keep exploring again in the future, but I wanted to find a little bit more about you, Ross. I mean, as I said to the audience, Ross and I have known each other for a few years, and I know he's got a great story to tell because uh, you've been a bit of a journeyman in some respects, certainly location wise. I know. Welcome to Sydney, I should be saying. Recently moved down here from Queensland, and but you started off New Zealand, right? We can listeners might be attuned to the accent a little bit and picking that up.
You mean I haven't knocked that out of me yet? Ah, gee, I'll have to go down and get some fish and chips. But yeah, I do. I come from Kiwi land and proud of it. I always like to talk about the ABs, but we might not talk about the other sports occasionally. Okay. But I've been over here in Australia for 20 years now, and I had some time before that as well. So my heart, my soul place is actually Queensland. I'm a Queenslander, if you really got to know. But I've worked in corporate life, and I came second for a job when I came to Australia. And unfortunately, that company, a big company, I couldn't understand it, couldn't afford to pay. They wouldn't pay me a check, and I couldn't understand. They could have paid me check for coming second and let the other person do all the work, but that wasn't going to happen. My wife wasn't going to let me sit at home either. So I decided the best thing I could do is I'm a good troubleshooter. I'm good for going out, and I enjoy it. I'm just so passionate about it. I love that aha moment when somebody says, "That's what I pay you for. That was such a good idea." And because you're getting those ahas, and that's what I love. And I've been doing it all the time. But as I say, I'm a journeyman from the point of view of living in the places. But I'm just love Australia and the places. My daughter had some wonderful opportunities. She's played in the Vikings for the Australian team. Going and went to Brazil and New Zealand doing that, and she was representing Australia. Go to her home country. So I've got some wonderful, feelings for, and I don't think I can, doing business in New Zealand is really difficult for me because I don't follow it. I follow what's going on here.
Well, you touched on there something that's close to my heart as well, is those aha moments. Tell me what that is traditionally for your clients, where they have that aha moment that in many respects you wish that people out there would know that they're going to have that moment so that they'll come rushing to you now.
Oh yeah. If only you could predict the moments. I mean, I was talking to a client recently, and they were looking at going into a new magazine that had been produced by an existing promotional body that they work with closely and go into trade shows with them and things like that. And they were looking at it, and they were offered three choices, and they were saying, "Well, is it worthwhile?" And I said, "Well, let's run through the numbers." In the end, it came down to, because I talk about numbers a lot, we worked through it and all the advantages, what's in it for them, and the integration of the other parts of the business, sales and marketing. And when it came back, we said, let's go for the middle category, because that will give the best impressions for the bang for the buck. Something like 3 cents per impression. When we talked about all the different ways you got an impression, it wasn't just a magazine, it was more than that. And when you looked at that, why wouldn't he? He said, that's it. That's why I do it. And they do that. And it's amazing what I had another client. It's that they trust you to run their ideas past you. And one morning they sent me an email. I'm going to change my strategy, go from multiple locations to one location. They did that, and they de-stressed. The business has boomed since then, and they've got more time off. But it's because they trust you to use your insights, because all of us bring it. And that's why I've taken you into a client with me, because you've got the specialist knowledge. I know a lot of things. I'm a dangerous guy because I can pretend I know about marketing. I do know something about marketing, but when it comes down to it, I'm going to get you to do the marketing. I'm going to get people like Carolyn to talk about fitness and nutritional health. And all those members of our team, Sandra for recruitment. All those people in our different communities are important to us because you can work it together, but we all give the aha moment. It doesn't matter which speciality that we're in. But I love it when I hear that aha moment or they come to me with their ideas. And it's so exciting. I can't not do it.
I love it. I love your enthusiasm for it all as well. I wanted to just finish up by asking you one question, delving back, and we kind of, we touched on the fact that you started out in New Zealand, but I'm just intrigued as to where did the entrepreneurial spirit start from? Like, what was the goal when you were leaving school, and what was the sort of influence that your parents had on this career path that you've taken?
Well, really. The career part, my parents instilled work ethic and doing a good job, and that's stuck with me all the time. But I've always been, I'm a guy. I have a strong action personality type as well, and I get bored quite easily. From the point of view, I want to move from one project to a next. But I'm really good at troubleshooting because I can go into the detail. I can look at the big picture, and I can look at the nurturing because I'm a personal relationship management specialist, because I can look at all those things. And it just seemed to come together. And being my own business, I can do that. And this become very important. My wife's is really quite sick. And so it allows me to take time off to go out and do those type of things. But it also allowed me to do with my family. When I want to go down for a cup of coffee, I can. But if I want to be on a webinar, like tonight, I'm going to be on one from doing some training from 11 tonight till about 5 in the morning, I think it is. I can do that. That's what I love. And a client actually wanted me to work in the office, and it ended in tears because they wanted me there when I had done my work, but they wanted me to be physically there. And I can't do that. I'm really efficient. That's what you pay me for. You don't want me to see me. You go and get the people from the movies and put posters on the wall if you want to look at good-looking people. Don't have me sitting around the office doing nothing. Get me there, get me out, because you want my value, not my inability to type quickly.
I love that, Ross, and I know there's so much that we've unpacked and delved into here, and we'll definitely have you back for another episode in the future. But I just wanted to thank you so much for being generous with your time and the insights, and you've practiced what you've preached, because you've just said that you like to come in and give that high level view and drill right down to the issues. That's exactly what we've done in the podcast. So thank you so much for demonstrating that, even if that wasn't the plan.
Hey, Anthony, thank you. It's fun. I've really enjoyed the conversation. It's just been a great conversation, and we often have those. But thank you, and I hope the listeners will get some value out of it.
Absolutely. And everyone, we'll include, as we always do, all of the notes on where you can get in touch with Ross. But Ross and I are also part of a networking group that we catch up on a fairly regular basis. And we have some of these interesting discussions with a whole bunch of other people as well. It's not your normal regular networking at all. And so if you are interested in that, please reach out to one of us, and we'd be happy to invite you in and experience it for yourselves and ask us more questions and jump on the podcast and be a guest as well. So again, thank you, Ross, for your time. And everyone, we look forward to your company on the next episode of Biz Bites. Biz Bites is brought to you by Together for all your marketing needs, so you can build your brand, engage audiences on multiple platforms. Go to comtogether.com.au, follow the links to book an appointment for a free consultation.